It's the Mile High Huddle podcast. I'm your host, Chad Jensen. What's up, Broncos country? Been a busy, busy day for the Denver Broncos. And us thinking ahead, we decided to put like a reaction cam in front of Zack Kelberman this morning when the news of your Denver Broncos signings began to hit the wire. And we're going to cut to that right now, Mr. Producer. In all seriousness, Zack Kelberman, bro, this is the gut reaction. The Broncos signed Ben Powers, left guard. Bye-bye, Dalton Reisner. They signed Mike McGlinchey, a right tackle to solve the problems of all problems. We'll get to everything else. Jarrett Stidham, quarterback to back up Russell Wilson. We'll get to all of it, but first things first, gut reaction.
I freaking love Scott for that so much, man. I feel heard. I feel seen. You know, the Broncos, we've waited a long time, Chad, for them to finally invest in the offensive line. And it took them only about an hour to wrangle two of the best offensive linemen on the market, arguably the best right tackle and arguably the best guard. The problems are over and the Sean Payton effect is real. I am super pumped up right now, Chad, but remember when people wanted George Payton fired? Tell me again how that works. Remember when people said no one wants to come play for the Broncos? Tell me that again. It's BS. Nobody knows what they're talking about. And today the Broncos got exponentially better. I am pumped.
I love seeing the Walton Penner group say to George Payton and Sean Payton, look, resources are at your disposal. Let's go be the no limit soldiers, to quote the great Terrell Davis. Getting after it, dude. I don't want to hear. Here's the thing, Zach. I heard this a few times from people in my mentions on Twitter today that are afraid to hope, especially with McGlinchey signing. They're like, oh no, this is actually bad news because it's the guy I wanted. And the guy I wanted every other time and since 2015 has turned out to be a bust at right tackle. Oh no, this isn't good. Get that bad juju out of here. Stop thinking that way. Mike McGlinchey is as solid as the day is long. Former top 10 pick. The San Francisco 49ers loss, Zach, is the Broncos gain. Plus, you get Ben Powers, who's a significantly more stout interior player, take over. So get this. This is, you got 4 of the 5 solved ostensibly, Zach, on the starting 5. To wit, Garrett Bowles, left tackle. Ben Powers, left guard. For now, penciled in. Lloyd Cushenberry, meh. Center, right guard, Quinn Miners, right tackle, Mike McGlinchey. Let's go.
If Lloyd Cushenberry is your weakest link, that means you have a really solid offensive line. And I don't think he's going to be the starter for much longer. I really want Ben Jones, the former Titan center. There's some good ones on the market still, but this is an area where the Broncos might fill in the draft. Regardless, to come out of it with McGlinchey, you might think they overpaid for $87 million, but he started every game he played in San Francisco. He's coming off his season last year. He had the highest run block win rate of his career and the second best pass blocking rate of his career, and that's for the 8th best rushing attack for the 49ers. This is not Juwan James. This is not Menelik Watson, Donald Stevenson. This is a set and forget right tackle that they desperately needed, Chad, and I love the aggressiveness and tenacity from George and Sean Payton.
Amen. Amen. We have a top rope elite super chat from one of our elite community members, Ethan, aka the DWI guys. And I got to tell you, Ethan, I'm just glad that in this moment, I'm not having to rip a bong or down a shot right now. But my dog, I love you. Thank you so much. So generous. It seems like you're stoked. He says the O-line, Zach, upgraded. Check. Next move. Dude, seriously, Ethan, we want to get to your question and talk about what might come next, but I don't want such a just gracious show of support to go just by the wayside. Thank you, bro. Seriously. Love all that you do for us. Not just our show, but all the shows, Broncos for Breakfast, everybody. You are Prince.
Yeah, Ethan, when it's you or Deanna, Michaela, anyone else, we struggle for the words to really show our gratitude. And we struggle sometimes, a lot, especially now. You hear me, mealy mouthing. We are so appreciative and grateful for what you do and the cause that you further in the community. The next move, though, you talk about defense, maybe outside linebacker, maybe defensive line. I'm still wondering, though, what's going on with Draymond Jones, Chad? I thought he would have a big time contract right out of the gates. He's still on the open market. The Bears haven't closed the deal. The Browns haven't closed the deal. And I speculate to myself, the longer he goes unsigned, the lower his cost could be. So you wonder, is a Draymond Jones reunion really out of the question?
It makes me wonder. This is just pure speculation, but it makes me wonder if Draymond Jones has a little bit more of a pull, pardon me, back to Denver than we initially thought, right? Maybe there is some kind of behind closed doors agreement that, hey, here's our offer, and it might be a really good offer. The Broncos may have given to Draymond Jones, but he's hoping against hope, seeing what he might find out there on the market, and he's got some offers guaranteed. Weighing those options right now, the longer, I mean, just the fact, Zach, that he didn't get signed today, it just creates a slight little mini window of daylight potentiality for him to return to Denver. But yes, I mean, you plugged the biggest holes on the O-line, and that's great. You got a backup quarterback in Jarrett Stidham. You got another tight end in Chris Mannertz because Andrew Beck signed with the Texans. You re-signed your leading tackler from last year, who also happened to get an All-Pro vote from the Associated Press, Alex Singleton. So you've checked some of those boxes, Zach. I would say D-line, let's just say defensive line, which for now, for the sake of our conversation, includes edge. They got to figure something out there. If you don't bring Jones back, you're returning one starter. But then again, Mike Purcell currently still under contract by this team, and it looks like that's not going to change. But never rule anything out. It is the league.
Exactly. I still think Draymond's gone, but again, the longer he goes unsigned, I start to wonder what could be. Maybe a prove-it deal like Shelby Harris took a few years ago. Remember, we all thought Shelby would break the bank, and he came back to the Broncos. Speaking of Shelby, the Seahawks cut Shelby today, so he's available. I wouldn't, cross that bridge again either. Calais Campbell, former Bronco, is available as well. There's some good defensive talent on the open market. Zach Allen from Arizona, another one. Who knows? Vance Joseph, he can come over to Denver. But next move, Ethan, I wouldn't rule out the O-line still because they need a center. They need some backups. They lost a lot of talent. I don't think they're done there, though the draft is still in play at that spot.
Calais Campbell, former Bronco free agent target.
Right.
Almost happened. Denver native. Almost happened. He almost came here. Took what was it, Zach? Do you remember this? We were covering it together back then. It was like
$1 million more, I think.
Yeah, it was relative to the grand scheme. It was negligible. Anyway, Shane Daniels, the aviator himself. We haven't seen Shane for a minute. We love you. We've missed you, big dog. Thank you for jumping in with the super chat. He's saying good evening. Like I said to Scott earlier, the benefit of having a great new head coach is clout. Great to see these free agents signing on now. Hashtag Go Broncos. Another takeaway from what we saw early today, Zach, is that I think it doesn't completely dissuade what I'm about to say or eliminate it as a possibility, but I think it kind of puts to rest, at least for now, these tinfoil conspiracies that Russell Wilson, he's basically auditioning. This was a all in on let's make sure we've got Russ taken care of type of morning. I mean, we're getting into the hundreds of millions of dollars invested in the offensive line, not counting what you're already paying Bowles and whatever Miners is making on his rookie deal. So very, very strong sign, in my opinion, Zach, that Sean Payton is saying, hey, look, Russ is our guy. We're going to protect him. We're going to do what we got to do, put him in the best position possible to turn the ship around in 2023 and make the haters and the naysayers eat some crow.
A lot of crow. Yeah, I feel kind of crunchy. You're right. Calais Campbell was a target. I was thinking of Malik Jackson for whatever reason. I just confused the two. But the clout that Sean Payton has within the building, I think, is palpable as well. George Payton, he ignored that position. John Elway in the years past as well ignored that position, the offensive line. Sean Payton comes in a few months. They addressed it with gusto the first hour of the signing period. I love the influence he's bringing to Denver. I love the impact he's already had without a snap being played yet.
And I would agree that he's been a beacon. Like he's been an incentive for these free agents.
Oh, yeah.
But let's not also get it twisted. Broncos had to go top of the market to get McGlinchey in Denver. Real quick, though, Gary Palmer, bro, love you, the swashbuckler himself, checking in with a generous super chat to say, hey, Chad, Zach, and Scott, we wanted action, and we got it on the O-line where it's needed. MHH for life. Buckham with a B. Gary, you ain't a kidding. We have been furiously a typing today. MHH. I mean, I don't even know how many articles have gone out today, Zach. It's got to be approaching 10. So I don't, it's between Zach, myself, Nick Kendall, Dylan jumping in with an article. We have Mike Evans jumping in with an article advocating for the Broncos to go out and sign Matt Prater, the kicker. It's been a busy, busy day. And look, the Lady D in the house, more MHH royalty showing out.
Thank you so
Very
much, Deanna.
generous. Love you. Thank you, Deanna. She says, super stoked with all of today's signings. What about, hey, center still unsolved. What about Garrett Bradbury for center, former Minnesota Viking? Who do you guys want to see as center? Hashtag MHH for life. Zach, we don't yet know exactly how these cap hits are structured relative to the new deals that were signed today, how much space exactly the Broncos have. So with that being out there, pardon me, on Front Street, what's your answer for Deanna?
Well, we do know about the Ben Powers contract, which was a massive win for George Payton and Rich Hurtado, the Broncos cap guru. It's basically a 2-year deal worth $27 million. The last couple years, the Broncos have team control, low salary cap hits. I think they did pretty well in the guaranteed money. It's a steal with the capital S and the Powers. McGlinchey, maybe a little overpaid, but they had to. Bradbury would not mind. I think he's a step down from who I would prefer as a veteran center, and that's Ben Jones from Tennessee, just an iron man, still plays at a very high level. If he doesn't retire, which is a possibility, and the money's not crazy high, that's the guy I would like. But Bradbury, Deanna, if they went that route, Chad, he would be an upgrade on Cushionberry. Let's be honest.
The thing, though, not to tamp down your guy, Deanna, but one thing to keep in mind is if the Broncos were running like a Kubiak, Shanahan zone blocking thing, Bradbury would make a lot more sense.
Sure.
For what we expect Sean Payton to implement, which will feature a lot of different concepts, I'm sure, when it comes to the blocking scheme. You're probably looking for more of a physical, in a phone booth guy, which is why for me, hey, go get Connor McGovern. Save yourself a few bucks, former Bronco. Save yourself a few bucks, Zach, and go get a guy who can do either. He's strong as hell. He for a long time, he was the strongest dude on the roster in Denver, former 2016 draft pick. Took his talents to the Jets. Let me see it. Leadhead jumping in saying, I knew my dudes, Chad and Zach, would be ecstatic about the O-line signings today. How long have we waited for this, fellas? Mile high salute right back at you, big dog. 78 Leadhead, always active in the comments on YouTube. We appreciate you keeping that conversation going, and the super chat tonight. Much obliged, big dog. And then he's also saying, you all deserve the support. You all deserve all the support we can give you. You all helped us through some dark times over the years. Can't thank you all enough. It's reciprocal, gang, because when the product on the field has been as terrible as it's been, you guys are that escape for us as well. Drew Love, thanks for the support, brother, on Facebook. So don't lose sight of that fact that this is a symbiotic relationship we got going on here, y'all. But thank you for the support. It means a lot.
Thank you, Leadhead. And is there anything more annoying than an autoplay video on a website? I freaking cannot stand that. I was looking up, though, because I saw Connor McGovern signed with the Bills today.
Oh, did he?
Then I realized, though, there's two Connor McGoverns, same spelling, same everything. So I don't know.
Cowboys.
The one you're talking about is the one I would want as well, but I don't know if he's a free agent.
Let's check. Today's been a very hot and heavy. Normally, I would do this on my browser, the same browser that I'm running the stream on, but lately, StreamYard's been a little janky. So I'm going to put a pin in this for a second and grab Rock Chalk Broncos. Great to see you. Very generous super chat. Longtime member of our community saying, gotta love that the Broncos were aggressive, plugging 2 holes on the OL, not to mention the other agreements made today. A solid start to free agency. Go Broncos. MHH for life. Denver Broncos for life. I mean, honestly, I haven't seen the Broncos be this effusive with their money, aggressive in their maneuverings since the epoch of the John Elway era. I'm thinking like 2014 free agency, which landed the likes of DeMarcus Ware, Aqib Talib, Emmanuel Sanders. I'm missing one, but you remember that class. And then the next year, he had to play it a little bit more safe, didn't have as much money because, of course, the Broncos spent But he still got a Pro Bowler that went on to become part of the no-fly zone, and Darian Stewart the next year. It kind of gives me those vibes where they're swinging for the fences, no holds barred, Zach. Every resource needed to lube these deals, get the guys here that the front office and coaching staff wants.
Wasn't that TJ Ward as well in
That's
2014?
right. TJ was the other guy. Exactly.
That's just a star-studded haul, man, and nothing can really top that. But what I do like is how George Paton made two promises in the last couple months. He said he will be aggressive in free agency and he will upgrade the offensive line. Promises made, promises kept. I love the aggressiveness right out of the gates and fulfilling the team's biggest needs. Finally, to the point, Chad, where we have orchestra music playing when the Broncos finally do make that signing. It's a good day.
I still call you Maja, dude, but I'll just maybe 2873. Thank you for the super chat. He's advocating, Zach. Move Miners to center and sign Shaq Mason. Then the line is set. What say you?
Nah, I mean, you could go that route and gamble, but you have Miners where he's played at a decently high level. He's still growing there. Just sign a natural center, draft a natural center, and not create more holes for yourself. I don't know. I'm not typically a big fan, Chad, of moving linemen around. If they're good in one spot, I don't really like to mess with that. What do you say about that though?
Listen, Miners does have some experience at center. In fact, last summer the Broncos did cross-train him a little bit and then quickly said, no, you're going to play guard. You remember that? They did flirt with it. There's a lot of like the resource we use, Zach, for images for our articles, USA Today. If you Google his name, half of them are images from OTAs and early camp of Miners snapping the ball. So he's got some experience there, but I agree with you. He's already proven that that's kind of a strength for him. It would depend very much, in my opinion, Zach, on what resources are left. How much cap space do you really have left to play with? And then also, let's not forget Luke Wattenberg's in the house, a guy that's a little bit more geared toward what scheme Nathaniel Hackett hoped to implement long-term in Denver, is more of a zone kind of guy, lighter, athletic type of center. Didn't really shine at all when his number was called late last year, both at center and actually, I think really left guard. Did he play any center last year? But he's primarily a center. So we'll see. Naj, bro, love you, big dog. Another legendary figure. He says, hey, brothers, how do you feel about us bringing Shelby Harris back? Look, you have needs, Zach, on the defensive line. I don't hate the idea of bringing Shelby Harris back. But at the same time, I'm trying to think, was Shelby around when VJ? Yeah, he was. He was around with VJ. So it might actually make a lot more sense than you might think at first blush.
You can argue that some of Shelby Harris's best plays were in a VJ coach defense. I know he had the tip drill, batted passes with Vic, but I don't know though on a personal level either that he wants to come back or the Broncos want him back. He was a trade piece in the Russell Wilson deal for a reason. I know he wasn't happy about that, and sometimes I say it a lot: X's are X's for a reason. You moved on from him. You deemed him expendable. It depends what VJ thinks. If they want to upgrade, though, talent-wise, and they lose Draymond Jones, sign Zach Allen, who'll cost millions less than Draymond and is much better, I think, than a Shelby Harris.
Mr. Producer confirming former Bronco Connor McGovern still available. It was the former Cowboy Connor McGovern who signed today with the Buffalo Bills. So we'll see. Eric Weber jumping in with some big boy stars on Facebook. Great to see you, my friend. Thank you for the support. He says, evening priests and Broncos country, Peyton and Peyton coming out strong in free agency, pumped with the signings so far. What do you think the Broncos do about center, and can they get anything in a trade for Cush? Also, we should try to get Shelby back, or should we try? We've talked, again, I like the idea of former Missouri Tiger and former Bronco Connor McGovern coming back here, but you know, what Zach brings up as kind of a general philosophy of their X's for a reason, honestly, in the league, it often holds true. It's pretty rare. It's not to say it doesn't happen. It does happen here and there, but it's pretty rare that when a former player leaves, that they ever come back, even under new regime circumstances. So that would be a blanket that covers Connor McGovern, Zach. That's a blanket that would cover Shelby. But one signing we haven't really gotten all that much into yet so far is Jarrett Stidham, who Broncos bring in on a 2-year deal, started games, supplanted Derek Carr last year down the stretch for the Raiders, former pet project of Josh McDaniels. I mean, it's a small moral victory. They got to kind of stick a little bit of a knife in between Josh McDaniels' ribs because he was a Stidham fanboy. But what were your thoughts on the signing?
Well, to strawman my own argument, VJ was an ex and he came back, so it can be done. We'll
True.
we'll have to see how Shelby feels, though. Stidham is a lot of Broncos fans, Chad, were underwhelmed by this signing or disappointed. Maybe y'all wanted a Brissett or Baker Mayfield or Jameis Winston, but he'll do just fine. It's a $5 million a year contract. That's backup quarterback money, and he's an upgrade on Brett Rippon. For a quarterback, too, that's all you want. You don't want anyone flashy. You don't want anyone stepping on Russell Wilson's toes. I think he's very coachable, came from a New England system. Let's see what Sean Payton can do with him.
I also want to. Nick had the article for us covering the signing today, and it was good that it ended up working out that way for him to write up the Stidham piece because back in 2019, in the spring of 19, Mile High Huddle dispatched Nick to go to the Missouri Pro Day, largely because, of course, Drew Lock was going to be throwing, and already at that point there were rumors galore of the Broncos, John Elway being enamored with Drew Lock. And you're saying, wait a minute, what does this have to do with Stidham? Well, when Nick got there, goes through the motions, at a certain point runs into Drew Lock's private throwing coach at the time, which was Jordan Palmer, who also happened to be the same private throwing coach for Jarrett Stidham. And Zach, I just want to read this one quote that Nick dug up from a conversation he had with Palmer. What is it, 4 years ago now, about Stidham. And this is what he said, quote, "Jarrett's stroke is just so special, so
Pause.
smooth, so powerful, so much control on the ball." So an interesting guy. Again, you're not looking to blow the doors down with a backup quarterback signing after you just spent like crazy on the O-line. You need a competent guy who your head coach likes, feels like, yeah, this is a guy I could trust to run my scheme as a failsafe in the event, Zach, that any kind of calamity should befall Russell Wilson, whether it's injury or more slumping. You got a guy that can hold the fort until further notice. And, he's not going to really generate the headlines, but Jarrett Stidham is a very solid, under the radar pickup for the Broncos, and especially at the cost that they got him.
That's all you want, though, from a backup quarterback. You don't want him to be the most popular player on the team. He's vanilla. And that's what you want from your quarterback, too. Someone reliable who can come in and manage the game, maybe even will you to a victory. He's never going to be starter material. He wasn't the best backup quarterback on the market, but they did not overspend and they upgraded on who they had before him. To me, that's a win.
Quick comment. We always try to get at least one Twitch per night. Robot of Doom saying that all I'll say is DMAC, Darren McKee, co-host of the 104.3 The Fans' biggest show, The Drive, with Derek Wolf and DMAC. DMAC is the biggest PS2 hater, Patrick Surtain, the second. DMAC wants to trade PS2, cut Russ for the number 1 overall pick next year, question mark. Sorry, but I need to vent. The dude is like Skip Bayless of Denver. I have probably a different opinion of DMAC than you do. He's one of those hosts, though, Zach, that, he's very polarizing. People either love him or they hate him. I happen to respect very much what DMAC does, but as a principle, though, of what he's saying, what's your thought on the idea of parlaying somehow PS2 and moving on from Russ into a first overall pick?
Well, I respect what he does because I'm in the business and I realize what he's doing. He's kind of like the Howard Stern of Denver, to your point, you either love him or hate him. But Robot, you're giving him exactly what he wants, and that's talking about him and bringing his name up and furthering the asinine, theories that he has that he doesn't even believe. He's saying it to get clicks and engagement, and it's working. I don't even know what was the premise of the
trade PS2, cut Russ, and get the first overall pick, I think is what he said. We haven't heard this ourselves, so we're just going off what Robot's saying.
He also was the one, I think he was the one, it could have been Merliot, who said if PS2 was so good, he'd be a receiver if he could catch or whatever. It's ridiculous. Don't even pay it any mind, Robot.
Indeed. Dave from Georgia rocking his Buck 'em with a B t-shirt like a boss with a B. Good to see you, bro. Much love. He says, with Singleton signing a new contract, does that mean Josie is gone? Well, no, because Josie's coming back on the last year of his deal. So the Broncos get their Bash brothers back together. And they already tendered Jonas Griffith as an exclusive rights free agent. So that depth chart is quite bolstered. It's pretty good to go both in the short and long term if Zach Griffith takes some steps forward. Even in the event Josie Jewell departs after 2023, if Jonas Griffith turns a corner this year, still in pretty good shape because you've got Singleton locked down for 2 more years after this season.
I'm not going to lie, though. I would really prefer to have a dynamic inside linebacker. That's another thing I've been saying for many years, just like right tackle. Josie Jewell and Singleton are mostly the same guy. They're very good against the run and not so great in pass coverage. Listen, Josie, he's going into his age 29 season. I'm looking at his contract right now, entering a contract year. The Broncos could save $4.8 million by declaring him a post June 1st cut. I'm just saying, maybe it's a possibility if and only if, though, VJ decides to go more dynamic in the middle. And based on his history, Chad, with the Broncos anyway, it's not very likely.
Shout out Marcus Lewis Henna jumping in, Miguel Santistevan jumping in. Miguel, though, specifically wants to know, is Cortland Sutton out? Rumors galore over this past weekend that the Broncos were getting a lot of calls about Cortland Sutton. Other people saying, I'll be surprised if the Broncos don't trade one of either Cortland Sutton or Jerry Jeudy. Reports and rumors that the New England Patriots are eating their hearts out, wanting Jerry Jeudy. What do you think, Zach? Do the Broncos ultimately ship away Cortland Sutton?
I think now it's becoming, there's so much smoke. Obviously, there's going to be fire. I believe they do need compensation. Everyone knows that, and they have a surplus of receivers. I've heard KJ Hamler's in discussions. They're floating his name, Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton. It's an easy choice for me, though. Between the two, Jeudy or Sutton, bye-bye, Court. I appreciate what you did. I really liked you before your injury, but you haven't been the same player since then, and I feel like your effort has waned in recent years, and so has your attitude. If they get a decent offer, if they float a third-round pick for Cortland Sutton, I'm saying see ya. I saw maybe New England can kick a second over the Broncos' way. That you take that deal and you run with it. But in no circumstances, unless a team is offering a first, am I dealing Jerry Jeudy. That's a guy you extend. That's a guy you build around. That's not a guy you ship away at this point in time.
Exactly. I couldn't have said it better myself. Scott, Dan Wilkett is asking about stars. So the way it works, Dan, and thank you for the stars. You did end up sending some stars. I'm not a perfect expert on the Facebook stars thing, but what I understand is
Broncos signed Zach Allen.
It's a penny per star. So what's that?
I think the Broncos just signed Zach Allen.
Bada bing, bada bang.
What a move, baby!
Who's reporting?
I saw Jay Glazer, so you could take it to the freaking bank. Finalizing a deal with Denver. Wow, what a day one for Denver.
VJ gets his guy, right? Vance Joseph gets his guy. We will continue reacting to that. Scott's going to throw it up real quick. Adam Schefter also saying former Cardinals defensive end Zach Allen reached agreement on a 3-year, $45.75 million deal that includes $32.5 million guaranteed at signing. Per source, Allen is reunited with Denver defensive coordinator Vance Joseph. And that, Zach, with that news, I think we could probably quite safely put to bed any prospect of Draymond Jones returning. But your gut reaction in real time, guys, we're just learning this, Zach. Gut reaction, Zach Allen.
A+. If I could have given Sean Payton and George Payton my wish list for the Broncos, they checked off pretty much every box today. $15 million per for Zach Allen is at least $3 or $4 million cheaper per year than Draymond Jones would have cost. And you can argue the production you're going to get out of Allen on a 3-down basis is even better than Draymond. I love this. This is a really beautiful day in Broncos country, Chad. No overreaction. That is the truth.
And, thinking back to this time last year when we were getting questions about, well, how does having, everyone being bummed that the ownership of the Broncos was leaving the hands of the Bolin family for obvious reasons. It was a bummer. But how does this new ownership group, does it really help us? You're starting to see how it helps. All right. everyone is mandated to live by the rules of the salary cap, but there is voodoo uh, therein that can be conjured, let's just say, Zach. And the bottom line is this is an ownership group that is so flush financially that they can outbid situations like today, Zach, with the Bears uh, offering similar money for Mike McGlinchey or what any team like that. It could be an apples to apples offer, and it's the exact same money, except the Broncos have more cash on hand that they can promise them at signing, and so they get that, even though they're not really from a total value of the contract, any different than whatever their competing offer is. That moves the needle. That takes what could have been a great signing and puts him on your board. This is what we're seeing happen before our very eyes in real time with the Walton Penner Group showing Broncos country as well, signaling that, hey, team's in good hands. We inherited what we inherited last year. Now we're starting to put our own stamp on things. Do you all see it?
I thought it was pretty revealing when Sean Payton was asked at the combine, "Hey Sean, why Vance? Why not Rex Ryan? Right? Why not Chris Richard or Sean Desai?" And one of the things he said was, "I liked what Vance could bring with him." And a lot of people took that to mean the scheme or the mindset, whatever, personality, intangibles. But I took that to mean a free agent or two, a player that he's familiar with. And Zach Allen was obviously the player that Sean Payton was talking about. I love this move. You could not have scripted a better day one for the Broncos.
Absolutely stoked. And so is George Fox jumping in with some stars to say, love the signings all, but the QB, not sure. A backup, I think is what he's saying. I feel we could have done better. Denver Broncos for life, images for life. And yes, as George is saying here, hit the thumbs up. If you're on YouTube, if you're on Facebook, that one little thing, liking the video, you guys have no idea how much that helps us. It's a small organic thing you can do to thank us. Doesn't have to be stars, doesn't have to be super chat. Like the video, okay? Helps us out in a big, big way. But look, again, I don't see I can understand slightly why you might be underwhelmed with Jarrett Stidham if you were expecting or hoping for the Broncos to, instead of going and spending on tier 1 tackles and tier 1 guards and tier 1 edge rushers, when you already have a tier 1 quarterback, at least from a cap perspective, under contract, why that might disappoint you that they go out and sign a guy like Jarrett Stidham. I can understand that if I put myself in that headspace, but I'm telling you right now, let not your heart be troubled. Dan says, is Denver going to move on? We touched on this earlier from Cortland Sutton. It's a possibility. It might even be a coin flip at this stage, but I doubt it. I don't think they're going to find the value for him on the trade market that they feel like is commensurate with what they would get from him being on the roster, if that makes sense. In other words, it's more valuable having him on the roster than what they could get in a trade for Cortland Sutton right now, which is probably like, if they were lucky, a conditional 4th round pick, something like that. So 727 Mil, what's up, big dog? Do y'all see us signing a defensive tackle or 3-4 defensive end or another pass rusher? Also, do y'all want to see a wide receiver get traded? Because I don't personally. Wide receiver is very much on Broncos country's brain here, Zach. What's your answer, though, for Mill, especially on this defensive line question?
Well, like Scott said, I'm pretty sure 727 got what he wanted with the Zach Allen signing. So congratulations. We're all celebrating that. Sutton, I'm pretty sure he was told that he's on the trade block. Remember that tweet that he put out a few days ago? I just want to go where I'm wanted. He knows he's on the outs, but I agree with you. If the best the Broncos can get is a 5th round pick, let's say, he's more valuable on the roster at that point than off of it, but they might shore up, to answer your question, Mill, the outside linebacker position. But I think, Chad, they're done with the big ticket signings. From here on out, it'll be value signings and depth signings.
There is a 650 I want to grab here on Twitch from JB. Is this now rivaling the 2014 free agent class? JB, thanks for being with us on Twitch,
Too
big
early
dog.
to know.
Exactly. From a name cachet perspective, even if the Broncos within 2 years' time were to go on and win a Super Bowl after this class, I still don't think from a name cachet perspective it would outpace that 2014 class because, look, Emmanuel Sanders was a depth guy that became a star in Denver, but TJ Ward was already a Pro Bowler, big name signing. DeMarcus Ware was already a Hall of Famer, big name, or virtually big name signing. Aqib Talib was already Aqib Talib, Pro Bowler. So I don't know. It's a question we'll debate as we march further and further into the future on this. But for now, be stoked. Dan wants to know what the word is on Kareem Hunt. Zach, I think running back, and I want to get your take on this. And of course, you can answer him here on Kareem Hunt. But I think running back is just one of those. You're seeing where the priorities lie. The priorities, unlike NFL Next Gen Stats, who did not even list offensive line in their analytics based breakdown of the Broncos' top 3 needs. Running back is one of those that, even though there are some premier names on the market right now, you can afford to wait and sign a guy here, sign a guy there. Latavius Murray is still waiting in the wings. But your thoughts, real quick, on Hunt.
I haven't seen much movement in the running back market, and that's because we've been saying it, and a lot of people have said it for quite a while. It's a devalued position. You can find one in the draft. You can sign one later in the offseason. You don't have to devote premium resources to that non-premium position. And the Broncos absolutely did the right thing building the O-line before you go after a running back. But Nishan, to answer your question, this is where they made their big signings. They got the Zach Allens, the McGlincheys, the Ben Powers. Now their money's kind of dwindling. I don't know that they can afford or want to go out and spend 3 or 4 years of guarantee money, let's say, on Kareem Hunt, or go out and get a Miles Sanders. They could go for Latavius Murray, let's say, or bring back Marlon Mack. They can go a little cheaper and then shore up that position in the draft.
Love it with the hashtag state of being. Proven. Yes, indeed, Nishan. Broncos country. Not a geographic location. It's a state of being, baby. Charms jumping in with the super chat. Thank you, big dog. Saying Von Bell and Zach Allen would make this a perfect free agency. What do y'all think? So you got one of those. Von Bell, I think, would be a dream. But what say you, Zach?
He signed with the Panthers. I know one safety went to the Falcons, one went to the Panthers, but Von Bell's definitely off the market. So that's a pipe dream. I still like Caden Stearns, though. I'm actually pretty happy about that. Assuming he's healthy, I want Stearns to start opposite Simmons. I've also heard, though, that Kareem Jackson could come back on another 1-year deal, so they could go a little cheaper at that position as well.
Charms again saying, let's freaking go. Where are the haters at? Zach said it best. Where are the people at who said no one wanted to come play for us? Money talks, baby. Not only does money talk, but you've got a really loud recruiting bell by the name of Sean Payton. Lady D, yo, number 2.
Thank you, Deanna. Holy crap.
Number 2 top rope super chat tonight saying, Chad and Zach, super extraordinary day. Zach Allen signing takes this day over the top. Hit the like button on the way in, and MHH for life. Lady D, love you so much. Seriously. Appreciate everything that you do for us. And it's a day to celebrate. The Broncos got better by leaps and bounds today. And Zach, when you piggyback that on the fact that not only do you get Sean Payton, but you get upgrades across multiple position coaching spots. You get an adult coaching your special teams, and an even older adult overseeing that in Mike Westhoff. You got the new owners throwing down coin. Things are ticking in the right direction. It's an exciting day for Broncos country, and speaking for myself, I'm just happy for you guys.
Same. As always, I want the success and the happiness in Broncos country. Y'all deserve it. The Broncos are tenfold better than they were at this time yesterday. I think that's what's important here. It's not the end-all be-all to win free agency. We go back to the Philadelphia Eagles dream team of 2010. You don't want to, focus exclusively on building your team through that. But what's encouraging, they got so much better. They filled the needs they had to with premium talent. And then they go on to the draft where we know George Payton excels and we know they've killed it in. So they're going to double down on the team building process through that. I don't know if you're a Broncos fan, even if you're skeptical about Sean Payton, George Payton, Russell Wilson, how you come out of today not super exhilarated where the team is going and who they've picked up.
Well said. Dakota jumping in. Good to see you. Let's freaking go. A revamped O-line. Definitely this team is an upgrade by far with coaching and the O-line, with more to come. Another well-said super chat. Thank you, big dog. Eric Weber jumping in again to say, would it make sense to make a run at Austin Eckler? Now, Zach, he has reportedly requested a trade out of L.A.
Good luck.
He's a guy, Darren Sproles' role. I could see him making a lot of hay with Sean Payton as his head coach. But what would the Chargers be asking for in return? In the NBA, it's a little bit, quite a bit more common to see players get traded in conference and in division and all that stuff. In the NFL, it's a little more rare, but it's happening more and more as we march farther. Holy smokes, dude! Holy hopping horse crap! Your thoughts on Austin Eckler?
I'm kind of speechless right now because of Renardo, but I'm going to say good luck convincing the Chargers to trade him in division to the Broncos. Not going to happen, though. I'd love to see it. He is Darren Sproles on steroids to me. Not literally.
Renardo, my dog.
Wow. What do you
On
say?
one hand, can I count the number of super chat superstars in the 500 club? On one hand, it is elite, rarefied air. And Renardo, bro, thank you so much. Please, as soon as these words you're about to hear leave my lips, take heed, okay? Send me an email, milehighhuddle@gmail.com, with your shipping address, because we're going to want to send you out a little thank you for just being phenomenal. Thank you, bro. Seriously, thank you. He says, spending big like my Broncos. Let the Sean Payton era begin. Zach, wrap your brain around my dog, Renardo.
I can't. I'm sure y'all are tired of me saying the same thing. So, Renardo, I'll do what Chad does all the time. I'll literally tip my cap to you, take my hat off to you. It's incredible. No words can summarize how I'm feeling, the gratitude I'm feeling, but you show it each and every time. So, thank you so much.
Legend. Love you, big dog. Seriously, thank you very much. Don't forget to send that email, okay? But yeah, the Sean Payton era, it was hearkened forth by the trumpeters, the royal trump. Here we go. It's Denver Bronco time, baby. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's a little too premature, Zach, to get too far out over our skis, but this is very encouraging. And I think, again, I want to echo another thing. I'll reemphasize something I mentioned earlier, which is this is also, to me, encouraging because I think it signals that despite what the likes of fantasy football expert Matthew Berry reported from the combine a few days back, Sean Payton is showing some big faith, I think, in Russell Wilson by making these moves. On their own, does it prove without a shadow of a doubt that Sean Payton believes fully in Russell Wilson? Not necessarily, but what we're doing is we're looking at circumstantial things, right? We're putting a piece of a puzzle together. And when you have reports out there stating that he was irritated by how much Russ was calling Drew Brees, he's on a 1-year audition, to see the Broncos go for hell or high water on O-line in a big bad way, tier 1 guys, left guard, right tackle, that should be very encouraging to Broncos fans, even the vast majority of the fan base, Zach, who has felt greatly disappointed and let down and kind of unenthused in Russell Wilson moving forward. If Sean Payton is stoked on your guy, if Sean Payton is going to these owners saying, no, we're gonna win with Russ, but here's what we're gonna need, and they're saying, check signed, here you go, done. That should give you great encouragement in your heart when it comes to this team, because all the free agent signings, Zach, it's all for naught if your quarterback doesn't play at the level you need him to play when it comes to winning football. So that's a kind of an unspoken takeaway here, reading between the lines.
We have a couple people in the comments calling Renardo the GOAT, so I feel like the next nickname to be bestowed on this podcast, Renardo, you are now the GOAT. So thank you so much. To your point, I'm thinking while you're talking, it's so foreign to me, especially. It feels like we're covering another team, Chad. The Broncos going out there and addressing the offensive line. And you're absolutely right. No matter how you felt about Russell Wilson or Sean Payton or any other facet of the Broncos organization, we can all agree on one thing. We want the Broncos to win. We want them to be a winning, contending team again. And you only do that, like Chad said, if Russell Wilson plays up to par. And he only does that if he has protection and the ground game gets going. The Broncos took three, if you count Manhurts, steps toward getting Russell Wilson and the offense back to that status.
Naj jumping in again too, bro. Thank you. Love you, big dog. Can't wait to see you again this fall at the MHH meet and greet. Saying, brothers, can't wait until the next meet and greet. It's really, sharing a brain. I hadn't even read the super chat yet, honest to God. It's really a fantastic annual event. Hope we're playing the Chiefs because we are undefeated on meet and greets. You brothers got to make this year your best one yet. Appreciate you. Oh yeah, dude. And one of the things, just like with the game of football, as you go, you try to self scout and you try to improve and you get better and you learn where some of your holes are and weaknesses and your strengths and you lean into those and you try and cover the weak. That's what our process has been with these meet and greets. We're getting better and better. So yes, this next one, which we've been stoked on all of them up to this point, but this next one, yes, it's going to be can't miss for the MHH community. So can't wait to see you there, bro. And hopefully this time, by the way, Naj, we get to kick it more at the meet and greet.
We're going to try to do an away game meet and greet too, if we can, Chad. We want to hit 2 in the fall. And Naj, you've been like the MVP of both meet and greets. Your energy and your fandom always comes out and shows. So looking forward to meeting you again later this year.
Michaela Israel, thank you for the super chat. Just got to tell you, we appreciate you, especially on these lives like this where things are still breaking in real time and our focus is consumed with the chat and you guys and what's going on. Thank you for helping us helping to keep the chat informed in real time, Michaela, and give our best to Cooper. Eric, bro, saying, damn, Zach Allen too. I know. This is why, tonight's show is not going to be the first time you're going to read in the blogosphere, you're going to hear in the podcast realm and radio, this class beginning to get compared to 2014, even though it's way too early to do that. You're talking tier 1 after tier 1. It's dope. Marcus across the pond. Love it, dude. So many members of this community that exemplify the hashtag state of being checking in tonight. He's saying, are we looking for a new kicker to replace Brandon McManus? Well, I think the Broncos would be remiss not to. Mike Evans, I mentioned this at the top of the show, had a very good article today advocating for the Broncos to talk with former Bronco, getting back to the whole X realm, Matt Prater. And I just want to drop some knowledge on you real quick, Zach, and then get your take on this. Prater, okay, coming off a 2-year contract with the Cardinals that was worth $6.5 million. Meanwhile, pardon me, McManus is set to earn about $3.6 million in base salary this year. If the Broncos were to release McManus before June 1st, it would free up about $2.5 million, all right, in cap space, but it would come with a dead cap charge that is basically equal, so it'd kind of be a wash. But if they were to designate him a post-June cut, McManus that money would get shaved, the dead money, down to like $1.2 million, and you would create $3.5 million in cap space. And I got to remind everybody, the Broncos finished 28th in field goal percentage last year. Brandon McManus, your thoughts?
Well, I can close over the cap now because I was going to make the same point. If they release him after June 1st, they can save a pretty penny. And you talk about the Ben Powers contract. I'm pretty sure his salary for 2023 is $2 million based on the way they structured it. So if you save over 3, you're talking about getting at least another depth player, if not a pinch starter for that money. Kickers have become a dime a dozen. You can draft one. You can sign one as a UDFA. You can find one off the carousel. The truth of the matter is, Brandon McManus has not been McMoney in quite some time, and I don't think he's worthy of the contract that he got a few years ago.
I'm over it. And he has his own kind of, he's a folk hero in his own realm. He's the last surviving member of the Super Bowl 50 championship squad. And there is some sentimental value in that, but not at the expense of wins and losses in the present. Matt Prater, dude, has just always been money. Plus, I mean, the dude throws touchdowns. Let us not forget one of the most epic color commentary clips in NFL history, done by the great Pat McAfee when Prater was still doing his thing in Detroit, and he threw that touchdown against the Green Bay Packers. One of the most legendary clips of all time of a color commentary guy. I would love it. I would love seeing Prater come back. I just don't want fans to really get their hopes up. We are not reporting the Broncos are, looking at Matt Prater. We're simply advocating, go talk to him. I echo Mike Evans' article earlier today. And they also got to figure out the punter situation too, with Corliss Waitman, who is coming off a, let's just say, lackluster rookie campaign. But guys, we're at about 50 minutes. So we're going to have to dip out here very, very soon. We got to grab the news on Zach Allen. So any burning topics, comments, questions, get them in the chat. We'll do the best we can to get them before we dip out. But one thing we're certainly not going to do before we sign off for tonight is miss a super chat from a legendary figure in our community, Chris Hernandez. Love you, big dog. It's great to see you. Thanks for the support. He's saying, I'm enjoying these free agent moves. Click those little thumbs up. That's his hashtag that dates back. Gosh, Zach, what was it? Was it 2019? 2019 when we
A
started
long time
doing our
ago.
podcast as a live stream.
Yeah.
This podcast has existed for many years preceding that, but we started doing this as a live stream in the fall of 19, so Drew Lock's rookie year. And I can't, Zach, think of a time since we've been doing this live that Chris wasn't in the community. So love you, big dog. Also, fellow brother in punk rock, appreciate you, Chris.
Yeah, as always, thank you, Chris, long-standing member of the MHH community. You talked about Corliss Waitman. I just want to add for 5 seconds that the Broncos tendered him as an exclusive rights free agent today. So as of now, he's slated to return, but the Broncos under Mike Westhoff could definitely upgrade that spot too.
Howie frickin' Day in the frickin' house, throwing down some frickin' big boy stars. Thank you, bro. Howie, you're a prince. He's saying, great first day for the Broncos, gents. How does this shake up the draft? And are we still looking to sell talent for picks? Two really good questions. I think, Zach, well, let me reshape his question and throw it to you a different way. Do the signings of McGlinchey and Powers alter your belief before today that the first couple of picks, which remind everybody, the Broncos don't go on the clock till the third round, pick 67, 68, that those two picks should be offensive line? What's your answer?
Well, you don't have to pigeonhole yourself now, which is good, but you still don't have a starting center. So you got to, if they don't sign one, a veteran, they got to draft one and hope he can develop into a starter. But even beyond that, you need backups. The Broncos lost too many tackles to free agency. You're talking 4 or 5 players. You have to shore up the starters and the reserves as well, but it leaves you the flexibility where if there's a tackle on the board, but a linebacker you like, let's say that's higher, you can afford to take the linebacker now. You don't have to draft for need. You draft for luxury.
Well said. Michael Ronquillo, love you, big dog. Rocking his Buckham shirt with a B. Throwing down. Brother, seriously, thank you, Michael. He's saying Denver Broncos free agency signings are off the charts. Let the Sean Payton era begin. Go Broncos and Buckham. Mike, we appreciate your support, bro. I hope you know those stars, I mean, top rope, throwing down. As Phil's saying, as you're getting comments from the community, big props to you, my dog. Greg, giving you props. And you know what? It stretches beyond what you do just in the chats because we get your support every single night, Zach, without fail. Mentions on Twitter. Mike, great show tonight. Chad, at Chad and Jensen. Great show tonight at Kelberman NFL. Great show tonight at Scout Kennedy. Great show tonight at the MHH Pod. And it's not just our show, every single show. So, brother, you are a prince. We appreciate you bigly. Mike, you the man. Okay, David Kilgore in the house, who's just been so great and supportive, dating back years. Our show, every show. Thank you, bro. He says, if we do get rid of Cortland Sutton, then who would you see us replacing him with? Another receiver? Well, replacing him in the lineup with Tim Patrick is what would happen if you moved on from Sutton. But, Zach, any other thoughts?
Now, I was going to raise my hand and say, I know someone. His name is Tim Patrick because he's the same player and arguably more reliable. I think he'll have, if he's healthy, the want to, and he'll fight for the ball and start to make those 70-30 type catches that Sutton was making. They need, if anything, a speedy type of receiver. They don't need a possession type. You have Tim Patrick. Jerry Jeudy's kind of a do-it-all, though I think he's a little more of a possession guy. Is KJ Hamler going to be that speed guy, though? Is it Montreal Washington? Is it Jalen Virgil or someone that's not on the roster yet? I think that's the question here.
Colby, brother, appreciate you. Great to see you. The support always means a lot. He's saying, very excited about these moves. Let the Super Bowl 50 hangover / curse be over. Yes. Listen, tonight, Zach and I will sacrifice a goat as your football priest. Not the goat, Renardo, near and dear to our hearts, precious as any fine stone. He's safe, all right? He's safe forever. We're going to sacrifice a figurative goat tonight to ensure that that curse is lifted and Broncos country can spring forth in exuberance with the windows of football heaven being opened up and blessings being poured out onto the team and the fan base. Fonzie, bro, love the O-line signings. We do too, big dog, and we love you for supporting us. Thank you, Fonz. FA, gosh
Ooh.
darn, I almost cursed just now. I can't get over it. You guys, seriously, blowing our socks off.
Thank you, FA.
Top rope super chat, as FA is wont to do, saying, Zach, holy smokes, Broncos ain't messing around. Love it.
Thank you, FA. I mean, what more could be said? Thank you so much. I don't want to be a wet blanket, but I feel like the curse will be lifted when the Broncos beat Kansas City. Finally, they beat them again. Or even let's start with the Raiders. Let's end that losing streak to Vegas and go from there. But it feels like, Chad, the tide is turning legitimately this time. Not like we felt this time last year with Nathaniel Hackett. It feels like a new era in Broncos country, and you could not have asked for a better start on day one.
On that subject, FA, hang tight 1 second. Well, you talk about how it feels like the tide is turning, right? We're reading the signs. I'm reading this book right now. It just so happens to be right next to me. All right, it's like a kind of historical fiction. All right, and it's back in the day, like it's Legend of King Arthur stuff, old Britain, like historical fiction stuff, literally like legendary stuff. Anyway, back then you had the priests, which were, what do they call them, the druids and the magi and whatever. They were reading the signs literally in the stars, and that would dictate to them predictive what was going to happen in the ensuing days, weeks, months, years, and all that. And so, Zach, that's what's happening right now. I'm right there with you, dude. We're reading the signs only. It's not the stars. We're reading the signs based on these tectonic moves happening here on Earth, shaking the very ground beneath our feet, courtesy of Sean Payton, George Payton, and this Walton Penner ownership group. FA number 2 tonight, dog, saying just landed. Zach Allen, wow, this is great. I hope all these moves pan out. Go Broncos. Love you guys. We love you too. Yeah, that happened literally, FA, while we were live. We got to share that reaction literally in real time with everybody. So dope. Steve Armstrong, the Mile Highlanders, you can see in his YouTube profile pic, rocking the Buckham shirt. If you're following MHH on Instagram, and if you're not, shame on you. Why are you not following MHH on Instagram at @mile_high_huddle? Follow. Come on. If you are, you would have seen us vaulting Steve, who sent us in his Buckham profile shot, and he's rocking his tee and he's rocking his Broncos kilt. Okay, this is a man that does not mess around, Zach. And he's saying, we signed Chris Manhertz, tight end from the Jags. Hashtag Buckham. MHH for life. Mile Highlander. You had the report for us, so maybe this is, of all the moves that have been made today, Zach, as we're about to have to dip out of here, this is probably the one that we've talked the least about. What can you tell people about the new tight end?
Because it feels like when the Broncos signed Eric Tomlinson or who's the other? Saubert. He's a blocking tight end. He's not much of a pass catcher. He has like 24 career catches, I think, but he's 6'6". He's 255, and he's one of the best blocking tight ends in the NFL. You put him next to Mike McGlinchey, for example, it's like having a 6th OL on the field. Dependable. He knew Sean Payton in New Orleans for a couple years. So for a depth signing, you needed someone, Chad. You had no one left in that room after losing Andrew Beck. You had Eric Dulcich and Albert O. That's it. This was a move they had to make, and as far as blocking tight ends go, it's a pretty good one.
Yeah, I mean, it's a move that's not going to be heralded, but we'll see how much fruit it actually bears for this team moving forward. Solid. If Sean Payton sanctions the pick, then get behind it. All right, that's what I'm saying at this point, because so far, every single move to me has been solid. But guys, we are about out of time here. So before we dip, we have a few messages for you. Don't leave quite yet. All right. We'll be getting off here in a minute. We got a few messages.
I can't believe an hour goes by so fast. I could talk on here, especially after a day like today, for another 3 hours. But that was the MHH podcast. If you're not doing so, follow us on Twitter at the MHH pod. The main account on Twitter, as you can see, at Mile High Huddle. Chad at Chad and Jensen, myself at Kelberman NFL, and Scott, our producer, at Scout Kennedy. If you guys want some of that aforementioned swag, that Buckham merch, go to mhhmerch.com and peruse our inventory if you so choose. And also go to facebook.com/ Mile High Huddle Pod. Be sure you're liking that page and following that page. And also, guys and gals, Apple Podcasts, make sure you're leaving your football priest a 5-star review for a chance to win some of that sweet merch each and every single month. But if anything, please, these 3 steps make a monumental difference. Subscribe, like, and share this video and every video you see on the MHH channel. It really does help us grow and reach more Broncos fans just like you.
Oh, dude,
Close.
I was there, but I decided, no, Zach gets this victory tonight. Everyone needs to go to bed tonight feeling like a winner
Cue
because
the orchestra.
exactly. Cue the orchestra. Epic opening on tonight's MHH show, courtesy of Mr. Producer himself, Scott Kennedy. One last message I want to give you guys, and I'm going to just flash it so it's easy for everyone to see. Guys, we put so much content. If you're not following Mile High Huddle on Instagram, you are missing out on a ton of content. And it's not just selfies from our great community, sending in the shirts and the hats and the jerseys and this and that pictures. And no, we're doing a lot of different stuff, from putting presser clips up there, pod clips up there, unique content. Most people nowadays, especially I guess the younger, like my kids, they don't use Facebook, they don't use Twitter, they use Instagram, maybe they'll use Snapchat. We haven't really looked into Snapchat. They use TikTok. We're dipping our big toe into the TikTok water, but our Instagram page has been there a long time. So guys, flood it with the follows. We need you. If you're on Instagram, make sure you're following us at mile_high_huddle. Easy to find us on Instagram. But shout out to these great Super Chat superstars throwing down tonight. This is a long, long list this evening, and I've got to actually scroll to get to the bottom of it. I thought I was ready, but I wasn't. Shane Daniels, Gary Palmer, the Lady D, 78 Leadhead, Ethan, the DWI guys, Rock Chalk, Maja, Naj, Dave from Georgia, Steve Armstrong, Nashawn, Charms, Dakota, Michaela Israel, Chris Hernandez, David Kilgore, Renardo, the GOAT himself, Fonzie, F.A., and then on Facebook, Mike throwing down, Ronquillo in the house, Howie throwing down, Eric Weber throwing down, Colby, George, Miguel, and I'm trying to remember on the other account, it was Drew Love, it was Marcus Lewis, and there's one more. I'm going to see if I can find it. Marcus Lewis Henna. I can't remember what it is. If I missed you, just know we love you. Appreciate you. And hey, make sure you keep it dialed with MHH this week, because Zach and I are off the microphone till Thursday night. But you've got Broncos for breakfast on the Bright, followed by Building the Broncos tomorrow night to cover whatever happens tomorrow. Wednesday shows, Mile High Insiders. Then we're back along with Broncos for breakfast on Thursday. So can't wait to talk with you guys then.
Yeah, guys, be like Nick and be like Rob here and go follow us on IG. And we had a last-minute buzzer beater from FA once again. Oh, my God, FA, thank you so much. He says, okay, we have O-line, D-line, quarterback, linebacker today. What else is a pressing need for this team? Maybe a running back, Chad. They solved pretty much, like you said, FA, the major needs. Running back, I'd say. Defensive line, maybe a little more after Zach Allen. Linebacker, outside linebacker especially, and defensive back, another cornerback, because you can't just rely solely on Damari Mathis, and another safety. What are you doing opposite Simmons? Anyone else I missed, though, Sean?
I would echo everything you just said, and I'd throw in also what's happening at center. Maybe
Sure, how did I forget that?
Maybe Sean Payton is higher on, say, Lloyd Cushenberry than everybody else under the sun. I don't know. But I have a sneaking suspicion, Zach, that's a story that has yet to be fully written. So that's another reason why, gang, you got to stay dialed in with MHH all week long, because not only are we going to give you the breaking news as it happens on the website, but the podcast, nobody goes 7 days a week. Nobody. We go 7 days. We don't take Saturdays off. We don't take Sundays off. Broncos football 7 days a week right here, MHH.
And again, FA, man.
Yo,
you are incredible, bro. FA once more. Sorry, I was in surgery all day, so finally catching the show. I work in surgery, didn't have surgery. Regardless of what you do or what you've gone through today, FA, we definitely appreciate you. No words left. Just thank you so freaking much.
In other words, he's trying to say, I am in my right mind. I was working in surgery today, throwing down to support the dudes. Perfect clarity of mind. FA, brother, You are a prince. You're a blessing to us. We love you, big dog. Thank you.
Thank you all for tuning in to what's been a fire podcast recapping day one of Broncos free agency. We'll see what the week has in store. We're off until Thursday night. Have a great start to your week, though. Take care. And as always, go Broncos.